Sometimes it is.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Jason, I feel like we have to prove ourselves and stuff.
That's right. That's what do. This is the Badlands of podcasting now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's PT, episode 214. And happy Veterans Day to everyone who is catching us live today. Thank you for your service.
Great.
Always appreciate that. And we got some interesting stuff to get into today. We pretty much have been doing our look back at the Predator film franchise. And now we do have a new movie that we're going to jump to get into that, which is the #1 movie in the world at the moment, Predator Badlands, which is out in theaters right now. Well, thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream or if you're joining us on YouTube or wherever you found your audio and podcast, we always appreciate the support. I am Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up, man? What's going on?
How's it going? Happy Veterans Day. I'm here with my son, who will take every opportunity to jump up. But yeah, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service, everyone who served. I got a new crazy deep dive to share. All right, this
Okay.
might even shock you, Ed. So I did say that I've been watching I Dream of Jeannie with my son, right? Because I like old TV shows. He likes old TV shows. So I was listening to just of which was at the star, Larry Hagman. Whenever he felt really insecure on set, he'd get super drunk and urinate all over the set.
Wow. Okay. And that would calm him down?
It would make him feel better. But then I started to think, why does one do that, right? And I said, you know what? I bet he had childhood trauma dealing with abandonment issues, right? Because how does one mark their territory in the wild? They pee on it. He feels like he is insecure, so he's urinating over the set. Buddy. So I started doing a little research. I am now reading Larry Hagman's autobiography because I want to know. And I figured out it's his mother. His mother kind of left him to go pursue her career in acting. But I want to read about his childhood now. So my deep dive is I am now reading an autobiography of a TV actor long dead because I want to understand why he peed on the set of I Dream of Jeannie.
Wow. So I'm really curious to know where this takes you, over the next couple of weeks. Because, when urinating on things is the beginning of your deep dive, you don't know where that's going to take you.
You never know. You never know. This might get me into Dallas. Because Larry Hagman also in Dallas.
That's true. And then, we can get into, maybe who shot JR and all the other stuff that happens on there.
That's right. We can get to that whole season that was just a dream.
Yeah, which I feel like that was like a thing in 80s TV that was probably severely overused.
I think so. I think that was the first time they ever went, the whole year you just invested in? JA. Because that was the season. Sorry. Although the best thing to come out of that was the Who Shot Mr. Burns episode when in The Simpsons, when Smithers has the whole thing about it was just a dream. Yeah, Smithers, it was a dream. Now let's go ride our Harleys or whatever. And they just go race off.
All right. So I do think there were two quick things that dropped yesterday that I sent to you that I kind of just wanted to pick your brain quick before we jump into the movie. So it was announced yesterday, completely out of like left field, because I never saw anything about this prior, that V for Vendetta is going to be adapted to a TV series. And this is like with James Gunn and Peter Safran producing and everything. So it's under the DCU banner. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because we covered V for Vendetta, the film. It was earlier this year. And I know you're very passionate about the IP, so I'm just kind of curious to know your thoughts.
You know what? I think there could be something interesting here. Like I would shot even outside of the show, because all we really have from V for Vendetta is the book, which is great, but incredibly dense, like even for a graphic novel. And then you have the movie, which anyone who saw the show knows I love that movie. I've seen it like 100 times because I used to teach it. I think, especially in today's political climate of like government overreach, I'm not even talking just about the United States. I mean, we saw Brexit a while back in England. We see a lot of like pushback on the conservative fronts, which is kind of what that book is about like rebelling against the conservative parties that kind of strip away your freedoms. I think in this climate, they could do something very interesting with it. And I don't even need them to slavishly stick to the text. I just hope they don't do what Watchmen did, where they just recreate something and they kind of ignore the text. You know what I mean? Because we talked about that. I like that Watchmen show as a show, but not as a Watchmen adaptation. So I'm hoping that this is a spiritual adaptation that really does something important with the text in a modern context. I think with James Gunn producing, it's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah, and he's usually pretty passionate about the the source material that he usually adapts, so, or at least under his watch. So
yeah,
that should be pretty interesting. And then we're getting a spin-off from a Superman spin-off, which is like I think it's called DC Crime, and it's basically gonna be Jimmy Olsen narrating, and we're gonna get like basically like, I guess maybe that's a way to get in like some lower level, like street level villains that are in this, and like King Shark might be on there, and so that, or Gorilla Grodd, I think, is one person who's also mentioned on there. So that's a pretty interesting way to take this thing now.
Yeah, I'm not as excited about that one. I am interested to see where it goes. Of course, we'll watch it. The thing is, like, I don't know, Gorilla Grodd is movie worthy, I think. King Shark was in a movie, like, so I got to see what they do with it. I hope that this is, again, as long as they do something interesting with it that isn't just a cash grab, I'm okay. I think it might be an interesting way to further the you're right, the street level universe, as opposed to the big stuff that's in movies. Again, I give a lot of leeway because Gunn is involved, because he's not gone wrong. Like, with the exception of the last episode of Peacemaker, I think that's the only thing you and I were like, yeah, he kind of dropped it on that one. But like, this guy's been doing stuff for a long time. I mean, we're not even talking DC. We're talking Guardians. We're talking, everything he gets involved with, he brings something quality to it. So in anyone else's hands, I'd probably be like, nah, I'm out. But in Gunn's hands, in this iteration of the DC, I think it could work. So I'm going to withhold judgment until I see it.
Yeah, and I'm also curious to see how involved is he. Just going to be a producer? I mean, I can't imagine I don't know if he's going to be writing DC Crime. So I'm kind of curious to see where that goes for a lot of things. But you're right. I think he's, the new iteration of the DCU especially has gotten like so much right, so in such a short amount of time, that we're willing to like, see where it's at. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see where those two go as well.
Yeah, and this is really the show to see if he can expand, right? Because like Kevin Feige doesn't write everything, but for a long time, the fact that he had oversight, the fact that he did quality control as producer, that allowed the brand to stay on mark. And then when he lost that's when we kind of saw the wobbling of the MCU.
Yeah, exactly.
When Disney was exerting control. So I think as long as he plays a quality control role, I think it could be okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm sure neither one of those shows are anywhere like we'll probably won't see them for like another year or two at least. But yeah, see where the DCU is at, in that point, because Supergirl will have been out, Man of Tomorrow will already be out, so we'll be a little bit further down the line. So I would be curious. But yeah, Jimmy Olsen getting the kind of like starring role in that is interesting because he was such like a surprise hit from Superman. I'm sure he'll have a pretty solid role in Man of Tomorrow as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, I think Gunn is doing well so far. So, until he extends that goodwill, and that would take, Kevin Feige for me still hasn't extended that goodwill, and there have been some movies and shows that he put out I really like, but if you're doing more good than bad, you've got my goodwill. And so far, Gunn has done everything good and only had one minor misstep. So I really can't complain about anything he's going to do until I see it.
Yeah. All right. So then let's get to our movie of the week, which is Predator Badlands, which is out in theaters, as I mentioned earlier. Right now, the #1 movie in the world, a film that has exceeded box office expectations because they were getting lowered and lowered as last week was going on leading up to the release. And then the film got released, good word of mouth, reviews got around, and it blew away the lowered expectations and opened up at $40 million at the domestic box office, and then another $40 million internationally. So they're off on their way. So we will be discussing this film in all spoilers. So just to make that clear before we get into this, for sure. Spoiler ticker across the bottom of the screen. So if you have not seen Predator Badlands yet and you do not want to be spoiled, we implore you to go ahead and come back at a later time once you've seen the film. But if not, we are going to be discussing all spoilers and getting into this thing. So let's just, you have been warned. We'll put it that way. All right. So Jason, we saw this movie on IMAX last Wednesday night. There was an early screening. That was earlier than the preview night. It was in one night in advance. So we did get to see that. And my initial thought, just my overall thoughts before we get into details here, we'll just share those. I thought this movie was a blast. I had a fun time with it. There was a lot of action. The PG-13 rating did not hurt it at all. Somewhere I was one who was a little wondering, like, we're getting a Predator movie that's not rated R, but they found ways to get around that, and we'll get into the details more in a second. And it was a really, really awesome time at the theater. The IMAX was pretty sick to see it in that because there are a lot of visual effects in this movie. So if you do get a chance to see it in IMAX, I would highly recommend that. And I did get to see it a second time the following night on 3D. That experience was a little bit messed up because the theater that I went to was having issues getting it right, where they had to restart it about 15 minutes in. So it kind of like, it kind of like took me out of that whole part of it, and it was a little messed up. So it's hard for me to kind of say that, but it looked pretty cool from what I saw, and they kind of tried to adjust it, the best they could, but it still was a little bit off in the theaters that I saw. But I did seem like it was a movie that would probably benefit from seeing it in 3D as well. So those formats, if you do get a chance, recommend that. But this movie is, right off the bat, I can say that it is definitely one of my favorite Predator movies in the franchise. And I've seen all of them but Killer of Killers yet, which I'm saving for when we get to it. That's the only one I haven't seen. So, but this one I would say definitely one of it's, if not the best Predator sequel yet, it's in the conversation for sure. It's there with Prey. I'm not sure which one to go with at this point. But Jason, what did you think?
I mean, I loved it. As you said, it was a blast. It gave me everything I wanted in this movie. Like, the action was great. The characterization, like, we get a Predator that's an actual character, right? Like, and that, to me, the fact that they were able to, just to put it on the table, there are no humans in this movie at all. Yet I still cared about these characters. I still liked them. I thought the plot was great. I liked the relationship. Looked fantastic. The Badlands itself, the planet, I thought the special effects was top notch. Like see, I'm on the opposite end. I've only seen Predator 1 and Predator 2. So I kind of feel like seeing 1, 2, and then this is going to cloud the way I view the rest of the Predator movies, unfortunately. But like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, you know, there's a soft spot for Predator 2. I made that clear last time. There is an emotional soft for me. But pound for pound, I mean, this is absolutely the second best of the Predator movies, and nothing's ever going to unseat the first one. That first one is just gold. But this, I'm not gonna lie, this comes close. I really, really enjoyed what I got here.
Yeah, and I will say I wanted to also mention that because it was interesting to see here. And I know we were kind of shocked when we looked back at the Rotten Tomatoes score for the original Predator that it was like in the 60s, which is kind of weird. Predator Badlands currently has the highest tomato score rating like for any movie in the franchise. Like,
I could see that.
The critic score is at 85% currently, and the audience score is at 95%. So, pretty high marks from the fans, that have seen it so far, across the board. I'm also trying to get the credit. Let's see. The original has a critic score of 64%, and the audience score was 87%. Which I kind of thought the audience score was going to be a little bit higher, to be completely honest. So, high marks all around for Predator Badlands. So I guess let's get into the details then. So, this movie chooses to flip the franchise on its head, in the sense of, like you had mentioned, the Predator is the antagonist in this movie. And
the protagonist.
The protagonist, sorry, I misspoke there. Protagonist here, usually always the antagonist, and hunting some sort of humans and stuff like that. No humans in the movie, so that's number one. And two, you make the Predator the protagonist and is an actual character, like you said. Like this, he has dialogue. He has like more of a purpose besides just, hey, hunt badass and collect a trophy, and that's pretty much it. Like there's a lot more to this here, and it's a pretty interesting take here. And this film also chooses to dig into the lore of the Predator species here, which we finally go ahead and get a proper name for, which one I understand was also mentioned in a Dark Horse comics.
Oh, okay.
In previous iterations, so this is not just pulled out of thin air and just building, everything here. So I thought that was interesting. So we get.
I mean, I loved like just getting to the Predator's character. Like he's an inner life. Like he has character growth. He has an arc. Like the only thing that makes him alien is the fact that he's a predator. Like, and that is very hard to do when you don't have a human character. It's very hard to make them like real, and this one did feel real. And I don't think we can really shout out that enough, because I thought the writing for the character was amazing.
Yeah, so we get the Yucha, which is basically, or the Yuka, which is pretty much what the species of the predators is referred to as in this film. And the film starts off with following two brothers, Quay and Dek. And Dek is the younger one, who's seen as like the runt of his clan and the basically the runt of the litter here. And he's kind of like, Quay is kind of like bringing Dek along, and they're trying to like train him and stuff like that and bring him up here because his father sees him as the weakest one in the clan. And they kind of get into this fight in the beginning, and it's a little bit of like a sparring thing. And then the father shows up. And we find out that the father sent Quay, the older brother, to kill the younger brother, to take out the weakest link, essentially.
Call the herd.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like I really didn't see that coming like off the bat. And I mean, we know that this from what we've seen so far, the species is very like hardcore about hunting and stuff like that, and everything like that, being the strongest and everything. But this, to me, was like on a whole nother level. Like, you just sent the older brother to kill the younger brother. That took me back for a minute.
Yeah, and then like the consequences for him not doing it and kind of standing up to his father is the father murders him in front of his brother. Because the brother, he's not looking to like save Deck and give him an out. He wants to give Deck an opportunity to prove himself, like every predator has. And so he's gonna let him go. Yeah, go. You want to go to this place with the, I forget what the thing is called, but the creature he's hunting. Okay, you're not coming back from this, but all right, fine, you could try. But that is, I think that's a perfect way to do it, right? Because he's like, I'm not trying to, it still goes into Predator code. I'm not trying to give him a pass. Let him prove himself. And the father's like, no, too weak, kill him. And then he's like, all right, you're not going to do as I say. You're going to let the weak live. I kill you then. And that gives us a lot of insight into how like the dynamic, the social dynamic of these clans go, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Quay basically tells him, like, the way to prove yourself to our father is to hunt down the Callus. That's this creature that is on this planet of Gemma, who is basically the planet of death. And they go there. It's supposed to be the most violent place ever. And we're going to go get the Callus, bring it. Deck is basically like, I'm going to bring it back to father. I'm going to bring him my trophy, and I'm going to show him. I'm going to prove to him that's that I'm worthy, of this whole thing. And you mentioned Quay's basically ends up sacrificing himself inadvertently, to give his little brother a chance to prove himself. So he goes ahead, launches off, goes onto the planet. He's facing all this crazy shit on the planet. Basically, everything that's alive on the planet is trying to kill you, and is deadly for the most part. And then we see that he meets up with his synth named Thea. So this Thea, this is played by Ellie Fanning, who she goes ahead and we find her. It's basically her torso, and she ran into this Callus previously, and they go ahead and have this like buddy team up thing. And I know there was an inspiration that David Trachtenberg took from Empire Strikes Back, because he did say this in an interview that I saw from Luke and Yoda carrying around by that. So I definitely got that vibe throughout the film when that was happening.
No, I did too. I mean, just the image that we have there, right? Like of someone wearing someone on their back. We get that twice in Empire. We get that with Luke and Yoda, but we also get that with Chewie and 3PO. Mm-hmm. So, definitely a visual nod. And I think it works. Like, I like the fact that, like, I was surprised. I didn't, because I go in blind. When you find out she has no bottom torso, like how is this gonna work? And then it does. Like watching him carry her around, and she's a character too, which I like. Like she's a synth, she's a robot, but she's also her own character, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, no, we do find out, and that's what the things that this movie does is it gives a synthetic, which is a Weyland Yutani. Let's not get rid of that here. This movie is 100% a Predator Alien crossover, and they fully embrace that world that they've shared for years now, since Predator 2. Basically, they've shared this world, and they're not ignoring that. So, Thea is the Cynthia that's Weyland Yutani, and she basically mentions that Weyland Yutani's there. Humans couldn't survive, so they sent a ship of synthetics to this planet to get the Callus, essentially, because we know Weyland Yutani, as we've seen from them, they're always after the next alien, next technology, next deadliest thing in the universe, and they want it for their own. And that's basically kind of how that goes. So that kind of adds up in this as well.
I also want to say that I really enjoyed their dynamic, right? Like, because I'm going to focus on characters, because that's what I'm blown away by, the character stuff here. Their dynamic totally works. Like, she saves him, right? Because I love this about this movie. He comes to this planet, which is like a hell planet, and immediately is like getting the crappy. tree thing steals all his weapons, and then he's lured into this field where if you get too close, you get this stunner thing that paralyzes you, and this creature, this flying creature above, like a vulture type creature, that is manipulating the flowers to try to get the predator got so we can go and eat him. And predator does get got, right? And Thea's like, I can help you. I can help you. He's got to free me. I can help you. And so I love that aspect. And then the predator being Deck, rather. I'm going to call him by his name. He's got a name. Deck being, you know what? I hunt alone. I work alone. I'm a predator. This is what I do. And she's like, no, think of me as a tool. That's cool. And he's like, all right, tool, fine. And then just their interaction throughout. Like, there's that one montage of them traveling where she just doesn't shut the F up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he is an incredibly silent character, and she never stops talking. And the fact that, like, it just works. The character, the way they built that dynamic, I thought was really well done.
Yeah, and then we also get a third character thrown into their little group that they have here traveling together. Which again, this is spoilers. So this one little one that they do find is me and you both saw, like, I guess we picked it up at different points, was that this was the baby Callisk that is there. But it's, it's like kind of like a cute looking little thing, and he's like super nice. And there's that scene where Deck and Thea and the Callisk are there. Who she names him Bud. And gives him that name during the film. So the three of them are there. They basically hunted down this animal. They wanted food. Deck offers part of the meat to Thea, and she's like, "No, thanks. That's very sweet, but I don't eat." And recommends that he give it to Bud, and he's reluctant for it first, but then gives in. And then Bud spits on Deck, making him part of his clan. Like, kind of want to form a bond, and are eating together. And Bud is mimicking Deck the whole time while he's preparing his food, and he's stretching, and he's going to bed and everything like that. I thought that was pretty awesome. That was like that was like a cute part of the film that I really just did not see coming at all. Like, there were so many things in this movie I didn't see coming. That was most certainly one of them. But it adds levity to the film, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I liked the humor. I mean, it was funny, and it was fun in those moments without detracting from the action stuff, which I liked. And this movie was really good with that. Even when I was laughing during the action scenes, because it's a part at the end where, like, the lower torso is walking around and acting as a distraction. And I thought I was cackling. You sitting next to me, I couldn't stop laughing at that. It was hysterical. Yeah. But it didn't detract from the action. And it's the same thing with the Bud scene. Like, at that point, I thought, all right, so Bud, clearly this thing is going to be bigger than we think, and being in the clan is maybe going to help him take down the Callisk. Because I genuinely thought he was getting this Callisk at the end.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah. And then you have that scene, and then they leave Bud. He leaves Bud behind. But, like, it's Chekhov's child, right? You introduce a child in the first act that has to pay off in the second. We knew he was coming. But again, I wasn't sure 100% where it was going right away. The fact that they were able, here's some humor, here's this, like, relationship between these essentially gleep-glops, these aliens and a robot, right? But it works. And that in particular, I usually would hate stuff like that in an action movie. I was watching or not, that's actually pretty endearing. I can't hate that. That's really funny.
Yeah, it was well done. In that same scene, though, is we do get the unfolding of the rest of the story where Thea goes ahead and starts talking about her other android counterpart, Tessa, who's also played by Elle Fanning. And we realize that they're there, and she's like, she needs to get back to her people, the rest of her crew and stuff like that. And that's when we also get a joke mixed in there that's made by Deck, where he's like, yeah, you need to get to your crew and legs. Like, did you just make a joke? And he's like, yes, and legs. He's been like so straight-faced about it. And
I love that Deck's joke is not funny, but it makes, like, that is the kind of joke a predator would tell. Like they're not quippy and witty, but there is like, and your legs. It's like, oh shit, were you making a joke? Like I love that moment.
Yeah, so then they go on this quest to find it, and they find out where it's the scene of the it's where they ran into the Callus previously, because Deck is all about getting back to this Callus. He wants to complete his mission. Thea's the tool that he's using to help complete his mission, and also she's getting what she wants too, as it appears. And then once they get to this crash landed ship there, then she activates a homing beacon to pretty much bring Tessa to her. Now, Deck, I think it is Deck who also mentions that she's like, when she's talking about Tessa, she's like, you have a sister. And she's like, the concept, she never thought of Tessa as being her sister, but then she kind of warms up to it. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Something, I do have a sister. So the homing beacon is activated. They come there to meet up with them. And then all hell breaks loose. And she's trying to reactivate her legs, and she finds her legs. That gets disrupted abruptly, where this thing comes crashing through and knocks her lower torso off her again as she was just repairing herself, which I actually thought was kind of funny as well, without detracting from what was going on.
Yeah.
And then Tessa they end up taking down Deck and knocking him out, and because they're like basically like, hey, Tessa is very familiar with the Yuka, and it was like, all right, we're gonna go ahead and bring them in, and we're gonna just keep collecting shit for Mother, for Weyland Yutani, because they also have Mother, just like basically every ship has that we've seen throughout the entire Alien franchise that they're answering to.
Now, this brought up a point for me that I wanted to discuss on the show, and I haven't brought this up to you yet. So, Up until now, as far as I know, the Weyland Yutani company is looking for creatures, not really sentient creatures. Like, Callus isn't like the Callus is like an animal. I want to say the Callus is like an animal, right? Mm-hmm. So the aliens themselves are like animals. They don't have inner lives. They're just creatures. But the Yautja is a fully functional sentient being with rational thought. And they were just like, no, we're taking them with us. Like, I kind of curious, like, I have a moral problem with that. In a way that I don't have a moral problem with Weyland Yutani trying to get these like animal-like aliens, because this is them essentially trying to steal a sentient creature and force him into slavery.
Yeah, essentially. Or I do wonder too, though, is Tessa taking down Deck there? I don't know if they wanted him for the same exact reasons that they would want the Callus or the Xenomorphs. I don't think they were trying to like replicate the Yautja, which thank you for correcting me, because I've been back and forth trying to remember how to like properly pronounce it.
It's a weird name.
Yeah, it is. But I'm on course now. Yeah, I kind of think that they were more involved with like the tech aspect, because even Tessa finds Deck's ship and also starts using some of their tech, but not all of it. Right. So I just wonder if they want more access to their tech and their fighting, apparatus. But also, I do think that, again, they're just pretty much serving Weyland Yutani, serving the company, as it's mentioned in this film too. So it's basically bring them anything you can that will perhaps further them. Or, because I don't know, do you think they were going to kill Deck?
I think they were going to experiment on him and kill him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. And to me, it kind of feels like it's a creepy because we're all the same species. But imagine I send an expedition to Australia. Sent to Australia and go, all right, well, I got this Tasmanian devil because we need to study it. Oh, but hey, there's an Aborigines. I'll take it with me. It's like, well, no. I mean, that's still a sentient being. That's not cool. You take save the people. That's kind of how it felt. Which is not to say we didn't do that.
No, exactly. I mean, well, I'm also thinking like in terms like I don't put anything past Weyland-Yutani to want to capture anything at any point to advance whatever the hell advantage they want to have over the rest of society, or their competitors. Yeah. Because the thing that's interesting with this movie too is that, and I know David Trachtenberg has said this recently because there was questions about the timeline and where in the timeline Predator Badlands is. And basically it is pretty far into the future. It's the furthest film into the future out of either franchise. So where were they at this point, like in terms of their advancements and their weaponry? Is the there you go. Oh. All right, there you go. You're back. So Jason, I was just mentioning though that I just wonder, since this film is set, this is the furthest into the future out of any film in either franchise. David Trachtenberg did state this recently over the past week, because there was questions of where in the timeline this movie is. Because he wasn't aware of, while making this film, he wasn't aware of what was going on with Alien Romulus or Alien Earth, so he didn't want to step on anyone's toes. So he basically was like, all right, this one's set way in the future, and that's it. So I just wonder, where is Weyland-Yutani at that point in the game? Of their gathering of their weaponry and their advancements. Then maybe this is where they're at. This is their next step. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
All right. I mean, yeah, they're an evil corporation.
Yes.
No. I mean, they're an evil corporation. It's all in line. It just made me think of what they're doing in a different way. I guess what I wanted to get at. Like I was always like, yeah, it's immoral to do this because you don't want to like create weapons. And I think even during Alien Earth, I'm like, can we just admit we can't weaponize these things and let it go? But this was a different thing. This was like, you were stealing. You've gone even more evil.
There's no limits to the evil of big corporations that they'll go to get to what they want.
America's a testament to that.
All right. So then, so at that point, then Tessa goes. Tessa's pretty much all right. We're bringing everyone back. We're gonna bring, we're gonna bring everything to Mother, because she was also sent on this mission to bring in, because the Mother does say to bring in the Yautja because this, Tessa has failed her mission at that point, or she's going to be decommissioned. Yeah. And she doesn't see Thea the same way Thea sees her as the sister. She's just whatever. We got to do it. So we got to do what we're told, and that's basically it.
And there's a subtle thing that they do in the writing. When Tessa first meets Deck, Tessa says, "Yeah, only." Because, we're meant to be empathetic so we can bond with the creatures on the planet. And then you find out the second part of that is you can bond with the creatures of the planet to capture them and exploit them.
Yeah. You're basically, you're getting this to like lower their guard and then suck them in, and that's it.
Right. And I think it's interesting that Thea focuses on the positive side of that and Tessa focuses on the negative side of that.
Yeah, it's interesting how they are two sides of the same coin, essentially.
Yeah.
That thing. So then they, Thea goes out and helps Deck escape, fight, starts, raging on. And, throughout the film, I thought it was also interesting that there's at least two different scenes where Deck has a moment by himself and he flashes back to his brother's murder, to Quay's murder. And it fuels him, and he starts screaming. It happens once in the beginning and happens once around this, because we're basically into the third act at this point. And I think it was just an interesting way to further remind you that this, this is a real character, and he's pissed, and he's upset, and he's emotional. Even though he repeatedly says, whenever emotion's brought up, it's weakness. Emotion is weakness. Empathy is weakness. Like, everything is weakness, because he's trained to be like, what his father wants him to be. but him and Quay obviously see it a little bit different. Like they are slightly different to it, but he's opening up to it. And I thought that was an interesting like character development thing that goes on with Deck in this movie from beginning to end, because through this journey of his, he learns empathy, he learns family, he learns what's about to be like a clan, because at this point it goes down where he makes a decision once he sees that Bud is the child of the Kalisk. He's no longer, he's off that now. He's not killing the Kalisk now. He has another thing to take down, and it's actually Tessa. Tessa turns into the villain in the third act of this movie, which we talked about this when we saw this. I did not see that coming at all. That was a twist I completely got blindsided by.
No, same. I mean, I thought we were hunting this Kalisk, we're getting this Kalisk. At the end, no matter what, the Predator gets his Kalisk. And then in the Kalisk fight, like, Deck is kicking its butt, but you can't kill it. Like, it literally regenerates. If you cut its head off, part of its body leaps over and grabs its head and pulls it back on. I mean, and Tess is only able to take it down with his technology, the freezing balls, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's when, and I think he has the realization of what the Kalisk child was the same moment I did, which is it's a blink and you miss it. But as the Kalisk is on top of Deck and about to like gore him or kill him or whatever, he smells him. But that's interrupted by Tessa, and it's kind of lost in the shuffle of the thing. But it doesn't escape him. And then he's brought, you know, to the ship. They're bringing the Kalisk and him to Mother, and he's like, "Tool, I hate you. You've done this to me." And she's like, Thea's like, "No, I'm gonna help you." And she starts speaking to it in this language. She helps him escape pretty much and get off the ship. And I think it's that moment he realizes that, no, you know what? This is my clan. That's when he starts to realize that, because he wouldn't have gotten anywhere without Thea or the Kalisk child. And now he's kind of feeling that, like, because he knew that Thea she did for him what his brother did for him. Yeah. I'm going to sacrifice myself because it's the right thing to do to save you. And I think that's why he's like, you know what? I'm going to go save her, because I can't let another clan member die who did this for me.
Great. And I'm glad you brought that up too about the language part, because that does happen earlier in the film where there's a lot of subtitles in this film when Deck is talking, because he does not speak English at all, and there's none of that like kind of like catering, which I thought I agree. And then when Thea first speaks to him, there's subtitles also, but then she switches her mode to speak a universal language, which is basically, if you're hearing me talk, it's automatically translated. Us as the audience, it's a very smidge of a fourth wall break, which I still thought was clever, where it's just like, well, guess what, audience? If you're hearing me speak, it's in English. And I'm sure wherever this movie's translated to, because it did, overseas and stuff like that, it'll be translated to them. Boom, there you go. Quick way to solve this. And we don't have to have some weird shit where the Yautja is speaking English, which would have made absolutely no sense.
Mm-hmm. And what I love too is they could have easily, because this is a Star Trek thing, like we all have these translators, so none of us are actually speaking English, but you hear it in English because this is the MacGuffin that allows you to, understand and make the show work. What I love about this movie is Deck they never translate what he says into English, not even with the translator. Like, it's just, he can understand her. She understands him because she speaks the language. We as the audience still have to read the subtitles. But I definitely think the movie would have been a bit worse if Deck was walking around speaking English, even if it was a hand wave, this is just for the audience.
Yeah, I agree. We do have one comment here, by the way, on the YouTube here. Andrew Man 69 says, can we please go back to having a buff male as the main character instead of a girl? We've had enough girls. Well, regarding this film,
Deck is your buff guy.
Yeah, I mean, is maybe Deck needs to hit the gym a little bit more for you? Or,
I mean, maybe.
I
I mean,
don't know,
look,
it seemed like he was fairly large. Even there's a run to the water.
Deck is no Schwarzenegger, but no one is.
True.
But I'm going to make the argument that Deck was more built than Danny Glover, and those are the only two movies I can really talk about.
Yeah, well, I as someone who's seen majority of them except for Kill of Killers, I mean, Arnold in Predator, Danny Glover, again, maybe not buff enough, but yet, not a small guy, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination. Predators had a team mixed up into it. Adrian Brody hit the gym for that one, clearly. So
yeah, but it's Adrian Brody.
Maybe not buff enough, but there's a couple of big dudes in there. The Predator, not exactly, maybe no central. They weren't buff per se. They were just a team again, mainly all that. And Prey, yeah, there's a brother sister. Like the sister. It's a young Native American woman who was the central character in it. So I don't know. Maybe I don't really care about it. I mean, but it seems like there's been more dudes as main characters in this franchise than maybe care to think. So, but it's cool with like peppering them together too to fight together. It's fine. Plus, by the way, for the record, I mean, a synth is a synth. Also, like I'm saying, if we're looking at the two main characters in this film, I mean, it's an android.
And I would also say that I don't think this film would work if you replaced Thea's character with a buff man. I think the main character, the protagonist, is Deck, and I would argue that he's the buff male. I mean, again, we can argue if he's buff enough. I mean, again, I think he's mid. He's not
a matter of perspective.
Better than Danny Glover, but I think if you had him plus, like, I mean,
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena, like,
or The Rock.
I don't think it would work because then you got two powerhouses looking like clashing, and I think the point is Deck is the brawn and she's the brains.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for love of God, I mean, you see on the poster behind us, like, I mean, it's basically her torso most of the movie too.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, I haven't seen the other movies, so I can't really evaluate.
Yeah, I mean, again, not required for me either. To be honest, I don't care because also by the end of this, I mean, I think it's going to keep following Deck a little bit. So again,
can I tell you what I hope? I hope when we get the new Aliens versus Predator, because I'm going to say this: when Alien AVP first came out, this is what I wanted. No humans, a literal Predator is the main character, fighting the aliens as the antagonist. I hope to get Deck and this crew, or something like this, fighting aliens at some point. No humans.
Yeah, I can see that. So then that takes us back. We go back to the story then. So in the third act then we get the showdown there where Tessa is fighting Deck, and also there was a crazy thing from Aliens, which was the power loader that she used.
Oh yes,
a jumbo-sized power loader to fight Deck because she knows one-on-one she's not taking this dude, taking him down, and they fight it out there, and eventually, he gets the upper hand and wins, and it's a pretty awesome fight though. The action set pieces we get here are all pretty good.
And I want to take just two steps back because I want to talk about the training montage we get.
Yes.
With Deck, because Deck lands on a planet that has been kicking the whole time without Thea. Thea is the only reason he was able to get through that because she had the knowledge, but he learned. And you see him, and I love this. You see him like using the resources. Nothing like film-wise, nothing is wasted. No moment is wasted because every creature we meet along the way comes in at the end, right? He builds the armor out of the bone creature. He befriends the lizards or the eel type things with those seeds that poison you. He starts taking the ropes and makes weapons. Like he really goes native, like not even like so to speak. Like he genuinely goes native, and that is what allows him to. And then he has the brilliant idea, and this goes to show too about like these creatures are smart. The way he finds Thea is he goes back to where they activates her legs, knowing the legs are going to walk to the torso, and follows the legs.
Yes.
And
that was pretty genius.
I love that. And one of my favorite scenes is, and this is what I was talking about before, I was laughing, but the action was great, where this torso is just walking through the camp as a distraction. And you see, like, you know, the synths with the guns are like, what's that? And then you just see the Predator, like, slice, you know? He comes like, it's like a stealth mission. I thought it was that whole scene was so cool.
Yeah, and also seeing Deck use that cover and that body armor he ends up creating because he doesn't have his like full gear available to him did remind me of the original Predator when Arnold does it in the third act in that film. Like it did remind me very much of that. And also there's that scene with him falling down the waterfall as well. Like I thought those were like nice little callbacks to the original film.
Yeah. But this time we get to see it like the Predator doing it. But also like it shows the resourcefulness. The Yautja, yeah, you're right. I should just call it Yautja. But yeah, it shows the resourcefulness, and you know, and we've seen this in the Yautja before. Like that first Yautja in the Predator 1, very resourceful. Same in the second one. But now that he is the protagonist, we actually get to see what that resourcefulness can look like. You know, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. So then basically the crew goes back to the planet because now he's going to go face his father, and he brings his trophy, which we find out is Thea's head. I mean, Tessa's head. Sorry, Tessa's head.
The Kalisk does get killed. It is important to say he tries to save the Kalisk, and Tessa finds a way to kill the Kalisk.
Yes.
And I think that is important to what happens here.
Oh, yeah, because he also chooses not to, like, bring back the Kalisk as his trophy. He chooses to bring back, you know, the one he took down, which was Tessa. And the father's like, what is this? The hell is, what is this shit? And he goes in and ends up, like, fighting his father, takes down his father, you know, and he gets his cloak by the end of it. And throughout the film, there are times where there's proud moments, and I think it happens like 3 times, if I remember correctly, where Thea is like, you know, Deck of the Yautja, giving him the title, giving him the official thing, and he's like, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Once he takes down his father, she says it again. Now he accepts the title that's there.
And that goes to show, and this goes to something I wanted to talk about, like, the real thing he was hunting was his father.
Yeah, in the end.
You know?
Sure.
Because in the end, like, Tessa's head isn't the trophy, it's the cloak.
Yeah, yeah.
And by you know, being the runt of the litter, coming up to kill the alpha male of the clan, I mean, that's even more impressive than killing the Kalisk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So while they're on the Predator homeworld, and he's got the whole thing, then there's a bunch of Predators that come out. It basically looks like the clan are all lighting up their laser swords that they got there, not quite lightsabers. And then we see the ship from a distance, you know, pull up. And there's also, by the way, between this is like, there is a brief where it looks like it's the end of the movie, but then it kind of kicks in. So I don't even want to call it a post-credit. It just briefly shows you the title, and then it goes back right into it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait around. There's nothing after the credits to wait around. And then the ship comes, and then she's like, you know, Thea's like, who is it? And she's like,
says, is that a friend of yours? And he says,
is that a friend of yours? Oh, yeah.
Yep. And he says, no, that's my mother.
And that's where the film ends. That is a badass line to end this movie.
It is. And I love that ending because, you know what? This is how you do a movie that sets up for a sequel without, like, breaking its back doing it, right? Mm-hmm. We got the end of this story. Deck is Deck of the Yautja. He took down Tessa. He adopted his clan. He got his shadow, his cloak. He got revenge on his father. All of the story is done, but just that little thing, like, oh, that's my mother. Boom.
Yeah.
You know what?
And
now
we're
it's like,
setting
okay,
up additional story. Yeah.
That's right. But this story is done. And I think that's where a lot of things run into. And I would say sometimes in the MCU we get this, not a lot, but sometimes we get this, a lot in movies nowadays where they put the cart before the horse. That's exactly what I would say for that that Tom Cruise Mummy movie that was supposed to kickstart the monster world. It's like you're trying to set a franchise up before giving us a finished movie.
Yes.
This is a finished movie that could lead into more movies.
Yeah, and I think that's the way traditionally you should do it, because like Hollywood, for like since the beginning of the MCU, so since 2008, has been hunting down. It's wild to say it out loud, right?
I know,
right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Since 2008, every studio is hunting for their own shared universe at this point. And a lot of them have the material and the IPs to do it, but a lot of them can't they don't want it to be earned. They want to just fast track it, let's get to the big bucks and let's move on. And they forget how the MCU accomplished it, because they're still the only ones to truly, truly accomplish the shared universe to like its potential. I mean, we'll see where the DCU goes over time, but like it's pretty wild how David Trachtenberg has jumped into this Predator franchise, and it is a shared universe with Alien, right? Like, 'cause it is. In this film, it fully embraces that. It doesn't shun it. It doesn't do anything, but in ways that make sense, that service the story.
Yes, 100%. Like, if an alien showed up in this movie, I would have a very different review of it. But this is we don't need an alien.
I'm just thinking. I was just thinking. I'm trying to think if there was a xenomorph on like Gemma, just in the background or something like that. I don't know. It didn't matter, but like I don't know if it would have hurt it.
I wouldn't have liked it. I honestly, even just that, I wouldn't have liked, because it would have been like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. You're trying to create. Yes, you're setting up a franchise. I get it. The shared universe is coming, but this didn't do that. This said, okay, what part of the universe I want to share will work for my story? Oh, Weyland-Yutani, the synths, the Weyland-Yutani need to get these aliens. All of that makes sense in this.
It also gets us a character that's not a human that can speak English and do that and get what the other, like you mentioned earlier, with the two AVP movies, there are humans shoehorned into the middle of that to just it's supposed to give us something to cheer for, or a way to understand what's going on and stuff like that. And we've seen that through a bunch of franchises. Transformers, there's another one. They're looking at you. Like, you can have the Autobots and Decepticons fight each other, and you don't need to shoehorn humans in it every single time. To another extent, like Godzilla and Kong, like that whole thing. Which I've enjoyed, but I've enjoyed that for the most part, to be honest, for what it is.
That thing is so crazy that I get it. Like, I don't. Yeah. Like, I think Kong Island is the best of those, because Kong Island actually makes sense as a movie. I think, but like when I saw Kong versus Godzilla, it's like I was like, all right, whatever. You got to have these humans in there, but to be honest, I don't care about them. I just want to watch the monsters fight.
Yes, but like again, like if you could have just had those two battle it out and collide and get the throwdown we wanted to see.
Right.
Without the human stuff, because that's my knock in that franchise is the second one, is King of the Monsters, where basically the humans are there just to narrate what's going on, and that's it. Yeah. They serve no other purpose in the entire film. Now the action is phenomenal when the Godzilla's fighting Mothra and all this stuff and everything, like it's great, but like we don't need the human shit, and that's what slows it down. This movie is confident in what they're doing with it and runs with it, and that's what you want, is hopefully other studios take note of this.
And very smart way. We talked at the top about the PG-13 rating. Very smart way to get around the PG-13 rating, because we can't have blood and gore and stuff. We don't need it. We got synths. We see the Predator take down a hell of a lot of synths, which are actors, they're people, right? But you skirt the PG-13 rating because he's only hurting robots. And again, I think that's brilliant, because that's why the rating didn't hurt this, because they found a way to still make it action-packed, still make it as violent as we needed it, without having to violate the ratings. And again, that's really smart.
Yeah, it was basically not rated R on a technicality.
Right.
Because if any of that blood was red and there was a couple of humans in it, R rating immediately.
Immediately. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty wild to see that, like, this is a franchise that has been, to me, it's like they're still building towards, because again, like you said, we're going to definitely get the hopefully proper Alien versus Predator at some point. We know that's coming, but just let's get there, because we also don't know at this point in the timeline what the story is with the Xenomorphs. Like, we don't really have any clue where they're at, and it's fine. We don't need to right now, but I'm just curious to know where they get to that, because they haven't been shying away from that. Like, David Trachtenberg has acknowledged that, yeah, we'll see some alien stuff going on, but like, we're not, we'll get there when we get there, and that's it. And then on the other end, the resuscitation of Alien between Romulus and Alien Earth, like they're both they're both building back the goodwill with the fan bases to get to there. And I think they're doing, like, 20th Century Studios is doing a great job getting that, because now, especially someone like yourself, this is the first Predator movie you've seen since the second one, since 1990.
Yeah.
But now you're in. Like, if you know there's a Predator property coming out, you're like, oh, cool. Like, now I want to see it.
Whether we are doing the show or not, when the next Predator movie comes out, I'm seeing it. And I wouldn't have said that. I probably would have caught this on streaming if we weren't doing the show. But I'm glad I caught it in the theater, because they're reinvigorating the properties. These are properties that make sense to reinvigorate, because they're about the creatures, not the people. Exactly. We talked about that with Predator 2. I think the best move it did, even though we hated it at the time, in retrospect, the best move it did was move away from Arnold, because it allowed us to focus on the Predator. Without Predator 2, we don't get Predator Badlands, where we get an actual Yachow being our protagonist. And I that's exactly where we need to go. Like, again, AVP, the next one, because I did see that one. That was terrible. I did not see the second. But it's like, much worse. Just give us these creatures fighting. Make the Predators are good, the Xenomorphs are bad, and let's fucking have at it.
Yeah. Sorry. And I mentioned, I think I mentioned this to you after the film, was I am curious to know if Alien, well, I guess maybe, and I know it's still not even, if we're going to get like a true origin of the Xenomorphs, like, what the hell is their story? Because I know in AVP, from what I remember vaguely, and I haven't seen those movies in years, well, if I recall right, it was said that Xenomorphs were created basically for Yautja to go kill and hunt, and that's it.
Yeah, but that's also runs in direct conflict what the Alien franchise sets up in Prometheus, where they're created by the engineers. Or no, not even. They're a product of whatever. It's complicated and convoluted, and we'll get into it when we get to those movies. Yeah. But I think what they need to do is create their own mythology. Don't worry about what Prometheus did. Don't worry about what AVP did. This was good. Continue on with this, and give us Xenomorphs in a way that makes sense in the universe you're putting them in.
Yes, because they're also at different points, right? Like, here we see Predator is like they're telling their story furthest into the future as humanly possible, right? Out of this combined timeline. So they're free to do whatever the hell they want, really. Like, there's really nothing they have to worry about. Alien Earth goes back to before Alien, and is like, all right, they're playing in that little ground. Alien Romulus is set between Alien and Aliens, so they're kind of like, they're going back into everything. No, I think that for the most part, especially there's a lot of good stuff we're going to see. We're not, and we know AVP, and I'm curious to know if we still feel the same way about those films now as we did back then. But I know both of us. Well, I didn't like the first one as soon as I saw it, and the second one I also didn't like immediately. I've only seen that movie once in the theater, and I fucking couldn't stand when I walked out.
Okay.
I was like angry.
I saw the first AVP, and it actually committed the worst sin a movie can. I was bored.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think we have more good than bad coming. I mean, especially we're doing the Alien movies. I think there's a handful of bad ones, and I'm not even sure which ones they are until I rewatch them. I'll tell you, the one I'm most excited to talk about with you, Ed, is Prometheus.
Yeah.
Because that's the one I have such mixed feelings about. And I've only seen it once. And I saw it in the theater, and it was one of those movies that I was like, I liked it up until the end. And then it didn't stick the landing so badly that I walked away like, no, that was terrible. So yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I feel like... Go ahead.
I'm kind of curious what I'm going to see in this next run. Sorry, your turn.
No. I agree with you. I think Prometheus. I don't want to spend too much time on Prometheus, but yeah, I remember being on board with that until it basically tried to make sure that it was an alien.
Yes.
Because remember, like when that came out, it was like, is it not? This is just a new Ridley Scott movie that's in space. And it was very hush-hush on the Alien until you saw the movie. And then it was like, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll get into it when we see it, re-see it.
We got a ways to go because, well, before we wrap up, though, I did want to say, too, like, David Trachtenberg has done, like, a great job. Again, you will see Killer of Killers when we get to that. But Prey was, again, that's basically what got him this green light to play around in his franchise for the 3 movies he's done now. Because remember, this is the 3rd movie he's done in this franchise. This is the 2nd movie he's done in this franchise this year, in this like past couple of months. Oh, because Predator Killer of Killers dropped on Hulu over the summer. Yeah.
You're right. And everyone keeps telling me how good that is. And the only reason I haven't watched it is because I know we're covering it for the show.
Yeah, no. And I've saved it too. I caught myself starting it one time and then I just was like, I got pulled away and I'm like, I'll save it because that was around the time we made our decision that we were going to jump into it here. But
I'll say this one last thing I want to say, and this is the last thing I need to say about this movie or our journey into Predator. I'm starting to create a thesis on the Predator movies. Okay. So far to the 3 I saw, each of them has taken what I feel is the trauma or the fears of the time and turn it, which is what sci-fi does, and turn it into a Predator movie, right? We talked in the first, I said in the first one that I felt that was kind of an allegory for Vietnam, right? And I'm not going to explain that again. If you won't go back, I explained that there. 2, I think in the 90s, if you remember, our biggest fear was street gangs.
Yes.
Right? You could be killed at any moment by a street gang. And so that's what the Predator was doing. And I think now we're kind of dealing with like the trauma of our terrible parents, like collectively, not like individually, but collectively. Collectively. And I think this kind of touches on that too, because the villain of the piece, the one that is being hunted, is the father, and the bigger bad is the mother that is coming. And so I'm curious to see if the other Predator movies I'm about to see plays around with that at all.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. And an important thing to note is that if you were watching this and like, you decided to get spoiled or not, you haven't seen it, see the movie because you got to support the movie. Because therefore, we don't know if we're going to get the follow-up then. But it's off to a great start. I hope it continues and stuff like that. I'm glad this movie wasn't like just, no offense to streaming, first movies, but I'm glad this got a theatrical release because that was the big thing with Prey. Prey just appeared out of nowhere a handful of years ago. And I was like, oh, shit, I need something to watch during, like, COVID times, kind of. And I watched it on Hulu. I'm like, this is awesome. This movie needed to be in the theater. So I'm glad we got Predator, back in the theater, again. And that's where we're getting that.
And I'll say, if you're on the fence about seeing it, and you're like me, because I would have seen it streaming, I wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for the show. I'm glad I saw it in the theater. Go see it in the theater. It's a different experience. The effects are definitely worth the money. If you're a movie fan, if you're if you enjoy that kind of thing, it's definitely a different experience. I don't think I would have enjoyed it if I saw it just streaming. I don't think I would have gotten as much out of it. So if you are on the fence and you're thinking about going to see it, but you're not sure, maybe I'll wait for streaming. Go support your local movie, support the movie theaters. Let's make sure that they don't close. But also, this is the kind of movie to see in the theater.
Agreed. Yeah, not just because Jason and I love the movie theater experience, because we do. We love the theatrical experience, and yes, you should support the theaters because we want them to continue. But like I'd said in the beginning, seeing this in IMAX was great. The visuals were absolutely worth it. Like, see it in IMAX if you can. I would love another crack to see it in 3D because that whole thing threw me off with that whole shit. It pissed me off to no end. It looked like it would have been awesome in 3D though, like especially on the planet, like on Gemma and everything like that. A lot of the 3D looked like it was pretty awesome. You know, if it was like calibrated correctly, because they were trying to fix it, but they didn't. Whatever. But you know, there's that. All right, so I think that then wraps it up for us then. Thanks for joining us as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's PC's Facebook group, where we share a bunch of posts and stories and stuff like that don't make the show. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's who we are presented by. On YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros and wherever you found your audio-only podcast. Jason and I will be back next week, where we will be continuing with the Predator franchise with the third film in the franchise, Predators, which was the Robert Rodriguez film that I mentioned earlier, with Adrian Brody and Walter Goggins and Lawrence Fishburne. And
what's a cast?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal cast. So and Topher Grace is also in it as well.
I mean, that was a cast.
Yeah, it was.
Topher Grace, come on.
Oh, at the time it made sense, you know, so it's there. So.
I'm just being a dick.
But yeah, so go ahead and check us out next week, and we'll be talking about Predators. So we'll see you next week then. Peace.
Later.